Welcome to IDD Get to Know Me, a mental health podcast where nothing is off the table.
Wait, what does IDD mean?
IDD stands for Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities. You will hear from us, people with IDD, and experts on topics that are important to us and our mental health. I'm your host, Victor.
And I'm Daniel.
On this week's episode of IDD Get to Know Me, we are excited to hear from two parents. Today we welcome Lee Steele and Amy Baskin.
We've worked with both Lee and Amy on different projects at the Azrieli Centre, but we'll let them tell you all about themselves in their own words. And I'm just going to pick Lee. Go ahead.
Thanks so much, Daniel and Victor. So my name is Lee Steele, as you mentioned, and I'm the proud parent of two adult children. My eldest was diagnosed with autism and a developmental disability, and that brought me into the work that I do. I've worked for 17 years now supporting families whose loved one has been diagnosed with an intellectual disability or autism. And right now, I'm so privileged to work at the Azrieli Centre with Dr. Yona Lunsky and her team. And I get to bring the parent perspective to my role there. And I'm just very aware that I'm bringing only my perspective, but over the last 17 years of working with families, I just try to make sure that I always realize that this is just my perspective that I'm bringing, but also just to make sure that families who are not as privileged as I have been, and all the different families I've worked with over the years, that that their voices are heard too, wherever I can.
Great. And Amy?
So I'm a freelance writer, author, and an educator, and I'm working also on a few projects at the Azrieli Centre and really enjoying that. Projects about mindfulness for caregivers and an online webinar series for caregivers as well. And I am the proud parent of two adult daughters, and my youngest is really into fitness, and she's into social media, and she has a passion for music, and she's also been identified with autism and a developmental disability. And my eldest is a bioengineer who's really loves baking and gardening. So a little bit about me and my family.
Great to have you both here. How you doing?
Great today.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
Well, we're happy to have you guys here. It's always an important topic to discuss today.
Our icebreaker today is, what cool feature would you add to your dream house? I'll start with Amy first.
In my dream house, I would have a giant room, and one would be glass so the sun could come in, and the other would be these three huge walls, floor to ceiling, with a ton of books. And whenever I read one book, another one would magically appear that was just chosen by someone who knew all my tastes. So that's my dream reading sunroom.
What about you, Lee?
Yeah, wow, what a nice thought. I think I would go for like glassed-in swimming pool, where it's like the Sky Dome, and it would open up in the summer and then it would close in the winter, and I could swim all year round. This is truly a dream idea.
What about you,
Awesome.
Daniel?
Yeah, for me, I think it would be I'd have my own arcade. I'm pretty easy to satisfy. Just nice big arcade, lots of video games, and I'm good. How about you, Vic?
What my dream feature would be is that I would add a trampoline, and I would do my flips outside. So I just flip around because I love jumping and I love doing flips. So my ideal features to add a trampoline in my backyard.
So now that we've broken the ice, let's get into the episode. Thanks so much for joining us today, Lee and Amy. We're really looking forward to hearing from you.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves and your children?
Sure. Thanks so much. So as I mentioned, I'm the parent of two incredible adult children, and I'm so proud to be their mom. I had my children later in life, so I was really, really excited to be a mother. And it was a chance for me to be, playful and fun, and both my children have really been my best teachers. They've given me so much joy and meaning to my life. My daughter, my youngest, is a photographer, an incredibly beautiful photographer who really takes pictures from her heart. My son is brave in a different way in that he it's just got so much also tenacity, and I don't know, he just shows up every day to give his best to that day. And like I said, I've learned so much from them, to be authentic and to be brave and to be resilient. So yeah, I'm so proud to be their mother, and I'm a single mom, and yeah, I think that's about a little bit about me and my children.
What about you, Amy? Let's hear about you for a little bit.
Um, I'm thinking about myself, and I know we'll talk a little bit more about how our children changed our lives, but I think with my youngest daughter, she really, really changed my whole career path. I'm trained as a teacher and have a master's degree in adult education, but when she was younger, I wrote a lot of personal essays about what it was like to bring her up and some of the experiences. And from there, I started writing for national magazines, and I co-authored a book called More Than a Mom, where I interviewed over 500 moms across North America about their experiences and how they maintain their own lives while doing their very best for their children. And so now my oldest daughter is 31, and my younger daughter is 28, and they've both become these incredibly beautiful and interesting people. And I think if you ask my daughter Talia what her passion was, she would say her passion is music. And just to give you a really quick story about some of the ways that she enriches my life, both my children do, is again, pre-pandemic, we used to go once a week. We would go to this bar downtown, to something called OK Corral. So we would just go upstairs, and then there'd be a whole bunch of people, and there'd be a guy with a guitar, and he would teach us all a song, a Beatles song, something in 3 parts harmony. And Talia would go off and do her own thing with people who like to sing the melody, and I would be off singing alto, and just met all these incredible people through her and through shared passions. And in this case, it was music. So a lot of joys that way.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. I'm curious, what has it been like raising your child and what they've taught you? Amy, do you want to continue along that?
Things that she's taught us, I mean, just so many things. I find we've met so many incredible people through parenting her. There was, for example, when my daughter was younger, she went to a really cool day camp, and she had a wonderful counselor. And over the years, Talia is still friends with this girl who's now a woman who is a teacher and has 2 kids, and she's a close friend of Talia, and she's also become a close friend of our family. And especially during the pandemic, we've had these weekly Zoom calls with her and her kids and with Talia. So really, really expanding our world in so many ways. So that's just, one way that we've benefited. I could go on, but maybe we'll come back to that. I want to give Lee a chance too.
I was thinking about, just as Amy was speaking, some of the things that my children have taught me. I think, as I said earlier, perseverance is definitely, I think, and bravery I mentioned. And I think authenticity, just to really be celebrated for who we are uniquely as human beings, and just the importance of being as authentic as possible. Definitely humor. I don't think anybody cracks me up more than my son. I just really get such a kick out of his sense of humor, and this opportunity to constantly learn new things, new ways of looking at things, new people I wouldn't have met, and definitely compassion. I think I wonder how compassionate I would have been without my children. I think I could have been quite a maybe selfish person, or even just not had the perspective that they as teachers have given me. So, and then one thing that I really think is gratitude for little things. I notice little things just way more than maybe I would have without them as teachers. I love to look on my walks, for instance, for something I've never seen before. Just maybe the way a bird call, or the way the light hits a flower or something. I feel just the gratitude for just the small things in life. As you said earlier, Daniel, I don't need much. I think the simplicity of just what really matters has been one of the lessons my children have taught me.
Can I piggyback on something that Lee said?
Yeah.
Lee, you were talking about compassion, and I think what one of the gifts from our children is being open with us, because we've kind of been open and compassionate and humble. Kind of, this is what nobody has a typical family. Nobody does at all. Everybody has, struggles and strengths. And I find because of our family situation that people are really open to us and open to me. And I've really, that gift of compassion has really helped with that connection, because people are very open with us. And I think that's because of our life experience. And that's a real gift as well to receive.
Okay, I just want to add something real quick. Something personal from my life is just that parents with IDD are always our biggest supporters. I don't know about Daniel, but from my life, my mother and father are my biggest supporters. So is my sister. And I can tell that I have so much love and so much compassion for my parents. So that's what my parents have brought to me. So I'm thankful that there are some support systems in our lives.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, my mom's always been my biggest supporter my entire life, and I hear that kind of thing from a lot of people with IDD that I talk to, or autism. So, yeah, for sure.
What what has your child with IDD brought to your life? And how has having a family member with IDD benefited yourself and your family? We'll start with Amy.
Lots of ways. I mentioned definitely changed my career path. So brought up the career of writing and speaking, meeting tons of new people. I think we've become more adventurous because of my daughter. I'm just learning how to let go as well. Just thinking of an example, when Talia was a young teen, she was part of a youth group at the YMCA, and they were having an exchange trip to Inuvik. It's like at the Arctic Circle. And this group was afraid to talk to us because they didn't think we would let her go. And we were afraid to talk to them because we thought they wouldn't support her to do it. But long story short, we let her go, and she went, and she was supported by her friends and the staff, and she had this adventure of the lifetime. And just realizing if she could do things like that, we need to broaden up a little bit as well. So just a couple of things, trying new things as well.
I think for me, I'm basically quite a shy person, and my son and helped me to see that there were inequities worth my time and effort to champion for. I believe in focusing on a person's strengths and their gifts versus often when you're given a diagnosis, it's all about the disability or areas to work on, and I really appreciate that. My son was a teacher that to talk about strengths, to talk about the intrinsic gifts we all have, and I wonder if I would have known that without his help. I always wanted to make a difference with my life, even as early as grade 7. I was writing public speeches. Even though I was shy, I just wanted to make a difference. I wanted my words to make a difference. And I think that being a parent has really helped me find the voice to speak up for inequities and to think of ways that lives can be changed. Like Amy, it totally changed my career trajectory, and I'm so thankful for it. I was an administrator before I had my children, and then I got this opportunity to start working at Sick Kids when Eric was younger, and just supporting other families who had recently received a diagnosis. Giving hope is a really important to me, to have caregivers understand and remember their own wisdom as parents, that they know their children better than anyone, and to give hope, and to replenish our own cups, because sometimes the emphasis is so much on doing for our loved ones that we can neglect our own well-being. It's sort of like the message is, if you're a good parent, you always put your loved one first. So I really appreciated that. My work at the Azrieli Centre in particular with mindfulness and acceptance and commitment therapy have taught me that I have to replenish my own cup.
It's like when you go on an airplane and you see the signs, like if there's trouble, you have to put on your own air mask before helping someone else, because you can't help someone else if you aren't able to. So yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying. How about you, Amy?
So much of what you've been saying, I definitely relate to. I think with parenting, again, it's made me very much aware of my own mood and my own health. So I think it's really encouraged me to, I do some kind of fitness or walking each day. I make a point of connecting through reading groups, through knitting groups. I think what parenting has taught me is the importance of being connected with community and looking at what your passions are and following those, both for ourselves and for our families and for our children, because I see how important that is, because a lot of the things for our family that are the most enjoyable and meaningful are just those regular things in the community. So we're all big Y members, and so is Talia. And I think Talia has taught me to really be connected with my community, which I really enjoy. And I think she is as well. So if somebody says, look, do you know a great place to sing, or do you know a great place to go walking, or a group to a book club or something, we know this because we've been forced to reach out, because you can't parent a child alone, and you certainly can't parent a child with a disability alone. We all need community. And I think this parenting has always taught me to keep learning. And one thing I just wanted to throw in, especially as far as support is the idea of a support circle. So that's something that we learned about. So about 8 years ago, we had an independent facilitator planner meet with Talia and with us as a family to talk about dreams for the future and to help gather people around our daughter who really cared about her and about our family. And these are people who are not identified with a disability of all ages, including her age. And we've been meeting regularly and now kind of remotely over the years. And it's been crucial to help Talia move out and to have, be involved in the community. And it's really helping us move forward with the idea of there will be people around her when we're no longer here. So that's just an important thing to think about, because part of this parenting is being able to let go and carry on. So how do we get those supports and those caring relationships around us? And that is something that has been so crucial in our family experience and in my parenting experience as well.
That's a great story. But it hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows. For example, there must have been some challenges raising your child. There must be some roadblocks. Like, how have you dealt with that discrimination, and how have you overcome that discrimination?
Oh, thank you, Victor. That's such a huge question. Listening to your other podcasts, I heard both of you talk about how difficult school could be. And I got quite emotional listening to both of you, because I think if there, there's a lot of emphasis sometimes on when we have a loved one that we need to help them adapt to the world. But I think that we need to just build a more compassionate world so that everyone can be who they are. I don't really know how to go about that, but I just think one person at a time, if we can just celebrate people's uniqueness, celebrate people's strengths, and come from a paradigm that we all have a contribution to bring. I do really wish that people who see things differently or express themselves differently, we could see the gift in that, instead of thinking that that's something to be fearful of or something that needs to be changed.
That is a huge question. Lee, I like what you said about one person at a time, and I think that's a big part of it. I'm thinking back of younger years too, of me trying to change an entire system, but it is a person at a time. And I'm thinking, for example, my daughter was included all the way up to high school in regular classes with people who we supported her in a creative way. And in high school, the choices were pretty well a segregated class. So that was a discrimination. And I always spent a lot of energy trying to change the system, and it was a brick wall. But then I think it's, again, how much do you try and change a whole system, and how much do you go back to the person and go, okay, what do they enjoy doing? Who are the people that they enjoy being with? And looking to other places in the community and other people to be with and to enjoy activities with and to build together a full life. So we're not always able to change an entire system or other people's beliefs, but there's a whole rich world out there that those are the people you reach out to. Because I think I spent a lot of time trying to change the system and advocacy and meetings, and they kind of went nowhere. And I feel like you leave, time will never get back. But so many beautiful people within these systems, within the school system, who says, oh, we'll just do our best, or come sing with me, or let's come to the Y and you can volunteer there. And I think that's where you put your energy. Again, with your son or daughter, look at the welcoming spaces and what they love to do. And that's been the most helpful for us.
So, in closing, is there anything you would like to share with our audience?
I'd really like to thank you both for having Lee and I on here. It's wonderful, and really what you're doing is fantastic. I think the one thing I'd also say is, as Lee was saying, is helping our sons and daughters have a voice in whatever that way it is, and encouraging that. For my own daughter, it's probably she expresses herself best through, she's a fantastic texter, she's great on social media. Not always verbally is harder for her, so I guess that's keeping those windows open to different ways to communicate. And I guess in bottom line is look after yourself, and that really is an important part of helping our sons and daughters flourish, and also realizing there's so many people out there, big wide world that is that's welcoming to all of us, so reaching out to them as well.
I think my words would just be for parents or caregivers of younger children: don't lose those precious moments to just doing. They go by so quickly. And then there's this regret that you've lost those precious years. So I guess the other thing I'd say, that my children enlarged who I am as a person. They taught me far more than I could ever teach them. So to really see our children as teachers, to reflect within what is it that I need to learn about myself. So yeah, I think just a strength-based perspective is so important. And thank you again for this opportunity to share just my perspective with Amy today.
Again, on behalf of me and Daniel, it's been a pleasure talking to you. This is our final episode until the next season. And we'd like to thank our wonderful guests, Lee and Amy, for all they have done. And on behalf of me and Daniel, we'll see you next season. Goodbye, everybody.
This podcast is brought to you by the Azrieli Adult Neurodevelopmental Centre at the Centre for Addiction and Mental Health in Toronto, Canada. We would like to thank our producers, Katie Cardiff and Irfan Jiwa, for helping to keep us organized and for all the behind-the-scenes work that they do.